And let's get into our second segment of the day. We're bringing in our patron, Pat. Pat, it's great to have you here, and you brought a fantastic topic
Words
for
are
us
hard
today. I'm getting a little long in the day. You know, it's on the break at 3:30. I'm basically asleep.
Oh man,
no. We got a fantastic topic today. We're talking about how high expectations should the Cubs have for this season. It's been a long off season of drama and a little bit of unsurety around some contracts. So I feel like the Sox kind of stole this offseason with the young prospects and the hope and the hype train. But Cubs have a very good team. You know, they underperformed the last couple of years, but should we still have those top-end playoff expectations for them? Pat, I want to know right off the bat what you think about this offseason for the Cubs and how it sets up them for this regular season.
Well, this offseason sucked just because there was nothing happening. There was no signings. There was no trades of any kind. And it was just a complete, detraction from, what Theo said a couple years ago. He's like, okay, if this team keeps going this way, we're going to start evaluating players in terms of production, not talent, which I took to mean, okay, they're going to start shopping, the Ian Happs or the Albert Almoras or maybe the Kyle Schwarbers, the guys who are, have talent but weren't producing.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole offseason was just is Chris Bryant getting traded? I'm like, wait a minute. Our MVP, you're thinking about trading him, and then Contreras' name came up, and then Javi's name came up a couple times. I only knew when Rizzo's name came up. Okay, no. This is not going the way we thought it was. It was just a very long, tumultuous offseason for Cubs fans just because there's just nothing that happened. But with that, we should still, I think, have decently high expectations for this team just because everyone seems to be talking about the Cubs like they're about to go 0-162.
Yeah.
They have that kind of vibe of oh, this season is done for already. Whoa, wait a minute. This is still a talented team. You still have some of the best, which in my opinion, some of the best hitters in baseball on this team. You still have a decent pitching staff. This team underperformed last year, yes, but I feel like I'm still on the side of optimism that maybe a change of managers, maybe a change of coaches can actually get this team that was only won I think 84 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little bit more luck in some games and have a better season this season because I don't think it can be as underwhelming as last year.
Yeah, I think that's a great statement to kind of encompass it. It can't be as underwhelming as last year. This is a team that underperformed, and like you said, they went streaky bats throughout the season one way and then the other. I wonder if it's just the fact that because people still have that sour note and the sour taste in their mouth of last season, they're undervaluing how good the Cubs can be when everything clicks in the right direction for them. Ricky, what do you think?
It's the last two seasons in my mind
where
the reason why I feel like we have this 162 feeling mentality that Pat mentioned is because we fired Joe Madden. That started everything where it's okay, this is a reset. We are in a new era of Cubs baseball, and no one really knows what to expect from David Ross.
Yeah,
in the manager role.
He's just everybody's buddy.
I was watching a clip. I don't know who he was talking to, but John Lester was playing catch with somebody on the Cubs team.
Yeah.
At spring training, and he was asked well, what do you think? You've known Rossi for so long. What do you think people are going to learn about him this year?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, he's basically people are going to learn a lot about him and what he brought to the team as Grandpa Rossi. He's just going to do that again.
I love that.
As the manager of this team, and how he's going to basically show not just how smart he is baseball wise, but how he can kind of manage guys. And for me, the last 2 years have played into where our expectations are, because you got to look at it. 2015 happened.
Yeah.
And we exceeded all expectations. We won that wild card game against the Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
We beat the Cardinals, which were holy shit, we beat Big Bro.
Legit crazy.
We were just happy to be in that series, but then beating the Cardinals was holy shit.
Yeah.
And then we got swept by the Mets. I hate the Mets. The Mets are terrible.
Hate the Mets.
Lucas Duda, just shot through my heart with what he did to us in that series. Then we win the World Series the next year,
You made the move to do it too.
Exactly. Getting Chapman, we
Yep.
wouldn't have our World Series without Chapman even. Like I always say, Gleyber Torres died for our World Series, man. He died for our World Series. 2017 was okay. Even though we didn't make it to the series, we lost in the NLCS. We lost to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
We knew that we were the two best teams in the NL.
Perhaps the MLB.
It was an okay pill to swallow.
Yep.
Well, yeah, in the MLB because the Red Sox were cheating that year.
I know that's
why they beat the Dodgers.
A little diss in there.
But it was 2018 and 2019 because people want to remember last year because we didn't make the playoffs. 2018 was not a great season. Also, 95-win team. The Brewers shocked us, and we had that one-game playoff for the. If we won, we would have basically avoided the wild card game.
Yeah.
We lost that game in Wrigley and then went ahead and lost to the Rockies in Wrigley. So it's like, to me, 2018 really set up for what happened at the end of 2019, not 2019.
Pat, what do you think? Is the fact that we've had this 2-year run up now to the season of disappointment? Or do you just feel like it's just this off season, the change of the coach, and the lack of any key additions to this team just kind of feels like it's stagnated down?
Well, yeah, when you look from like 2018, I think a lot of issues have just hurt the Cubs in like different. It's like the end of 2018 that Ricky was talking about. The big thing was just the Cubs' offense could not score for that last like month of the season. They just could not get anything done, or as Theo says, their offense just broke. And then 2019, the offense actually started off decently well, but every pitcher that we had just sucked. Like every starting pitcher just had terrible games. The bullpen couldn't hold anything. Like Carl Edwards Jr. was just lit up for the first like quarter of the season. And I think Cub fans are always expecting now that like, well, if it's not one thing, it's the other. Like this year, it's our offense. Last year was our pitching. The second half of the year, it was our offense and our bullpen that couldn't hold anything. We signed Craig Kimbrell. He didn't do anything. And also from the 3 signings of Morrow, Darvish, who I'd actually defend Darvish because he did have a good season last year, and I think he just needed time to get through his injury.
Yeah. Well, I would always...
Brandon Morrow, who signed to a huge deal, who only played half a season for you, has got to really sting, along with signing Tyler Chatwood, who you're like, okay, for this season he might be our 5th starter, but he's been kind of he was kind of crappy the first year as a starter, even though he was decent last year. He was out of the bullpen, so I think Cub fans have just seen like so many things go wrong that you're kind of almost, you feel like Cub fans are falling back into that trap of like, what's going to go wrong this season? Is it going to be our offense? Is it going to be whoever our second baseman is? Is it going to be our bullpen? Is it going to be our rotation that is getting older with Lester's, and I think in this last year of his contract, or Quintana not living up to expectations? So it's been a lot more just bad news and like just bad things for the Cubs in terms of like, and not really having much to like point to of like, oh, that's a promising guy right there, other than like maybe Javi.
Well, and the thing with Javi too that many people like to talk about is strikes out a little bit too much. I don't care. I love Javi. I love our entire team though. Like I wouldn't want to. I understand Schwarber we'd have to move on from, but like he's okay that I would be willing to move on from. If we traded like Chris Bryant or Javi, I would be like, oh damn, they're not on the Cubs anymore, and I would take it a little bit harder. Nothing like Rizzo though. Rizzo's my boy.
Yeah.
2 things. First off, I would always joke around with Brandon last year with Yu Darvish because Brandon hated Yu Darvish's signing on the north side. And last year I would joke where it's like, well, you know what? We can either have all the other 4 starters do well and you do bad, or you's doing well and everyone else is doing bad. Couldn't hit both of them at the same time. One thing I want to bring in Twitch chat, though, because I disagree with this, is Sam. Sam, I love you, but I disagree with his comment about it's time for a full rebuild on the north side. I know you bring up KC and the Royals are now in a rebuild. I don't think we're headed there. Now, if we trade Chris Bryant, that's a different discussion. But the thing that I think plays into this also, and what played into the last few years, the NL Central has changed.
Oh, the landscape has vastly changed.
When we won the World Series, it was us, the Brewers were not the team they were.
It was you and the Cardinals at the tail.
Yeah, but the Cardinals weren't exactly a scary Cardinal team. They're an 86-win team compared to our 103-win team, where the Brewers were even under the Pirates that season, where the last couple of years, the Brewers make deals. They get Lorenzo Cain. They got Yelich. They had Grandal, which now Grandal is on the south side, where that's going to be a loss for them. Yelich coming off of his late injury last season. Yeah. We're going to see how that affects them early on. He should be healthy beginning of the year, but you never know coming off of an injury so late. The Cardinals seem to be the odds-on favorite to win the Central. And then there's the team that I get everyone, Sam's one of them, that want to crown the Reds before they do anything. Are they a dark horse? For sure. They should be better than last year. But I don't think the Reds are going to be a team that there was standings that I saw even Jake posted on Twitter. And I think Jake was posting more about the Yankee side being wrong. But I looked at it and I went, really? The Reds going to win this division? I don't see it. Maybe I've been wrong before in the past. Maybe they do come out gangbusters. Pat, I don't know if you feel like we should be afraid of the Reds this year, but that's a team where it's yeah, I know that the Brewers will be tough. The Cardinals are a lot better. But, are the Reds really going to be a team to dethrone the Cubs? And the Cubs are sitting at 4th place in the Central.
Yikes.
When it's all said and done. What do you think about that, Pat?
Well, I got to say right now that if anyone has ever said to me with a straight face that I am scared of the Cincinnati Reds, they're probably full of it. Because there's so many teams
Unless
that
Pete Rose was on that team.
Yeah, there's so many teams that, quote-unquote, win the offseason the past few years, but a lot of them have done – there's a few have done great, and there's a lot of them have done really shitty.
Yeah.
And I don't want to crown, especially the Reds after last season, saying that, they're immediately going to be contenders. They can, and they can surprise people. But I think it's going to – I can't – I'm not going to predict because I don't know, but I still think that because the Cubs and the Brewers and the Cardinals have been together longer, and they've actually kept most of their core together. I know the Brewers lost a ton of guys this last offseason, but I'm going to stick with – I think they can maybe be a surprise team. I don't know if they can knock off a contender as of yet because there's just so many examples of teams that will spend a ton on the offseason, but then the regular season comes along and they're trashed. That happened to the Padres. That happened to the Rockies, who spent $80 million to upgrade their bullpen, and they had the worst bullpen in baseball.
Yeah.
So it's really a big – and that also goes for the White Sox as well.
I was gonna be don't talk about the White Sox. But no, does the crosstown potential kind of feel a little bit of pressure on top? The fact that the White Sox have made so many moves, we do have so much young talent coming up in the ranks. In our expectations this year, we had Sam on, another one of our patrons, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We talked about, could things line up for the White Sox to make a run at the playoffs this year? And now we're talking about the Cubs potentially falling out. What I guess, does that add any extra whatever to your...
Pat, I'm going to go ahead and take this one first. No, it doesn't. And
okay. You're not even concerned about the other side of town.
No. I feel like there's I shouldn't be worried about the White Sox. And the reason being, now if you were in the NL Central, different discussion. But the only thing I think has an effect this year is a good one for the city of Chicago. Maybe it makes our series together and that dang cup you
guys keep losing.
Yeah, you want to say is important, but I could give two shits about it at the end of the year. Like Rob Manfred said, it's just a piece of metal, right? What he said about the World Series trophy. At the very least, it makes our series more competitive, which is good for the city of Chicago.
And you guys keep losing it, though.
Yeah, but no, it doesn't.
That doesn't make it more competitive. You guys keep losing.
No, I'm not saying win or lose, but that the team, maybe there's more.
Having two competitive teams in Chicago is always good.
Exactly. Like having two teams where it's maybe more people in Chicago care about it now.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when we were younger, everyone cared about it. Even when the Cubs were bad, because Cub fans loved the Cubs. White Sox fans were like, woo, we got a great team. But I feel like since the White Sox have been bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's the core White Sox fans that are diehards, and you guys are the ones that I love because you support your team. But I've looked at that stadium and looked at how half filled it's been.
Yeah.
To where
that's how we do.
I'm almost going to hate Sox fans this year because I know there's going to be Sox fans that are like, "Woo, go Sox!"
Halfway through the year, that stadium numbers attendance just going to see climbing.
Where were you when this team was bad? Like where were you supporting this team?
They don't want to be in Comiskey. Not that Comiskey, but it's still, everybody still calls it Comiskey.
I mean, does it matter? Yes, because we play you, but it's only going to be a net.
I just didn't know if the success of the team across the town making moves and basically, not following your strategy of the rebuild, but, similar lines, you can see some similarities as far as how they built their team and put this core together.
Yeah.
And them potentially having that success and you guys being on the outside looking in. I just feel like, I don't know if it's going to add anything on paper, but just the storyline behind the season feels like it gets a little spicier because of that.
Yeah, and I think that I don't even want to say because no one's going to lose fans.
No. Cubs fans are Cubs fans. They love 100 years of losing. You're never going to not pack Wrigley Field. The
one thing I will throw out, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Pat, is I think the biggest net negative for the Cubs this year will to see how the Marquee Network works.
Ooh.
Because I'm seeing a lot of things on my Twitter about, hey, I got to get Hulu TV because Hulu TV has Marquee and make sure to not miss games that you got the Marquee Network. That, to me, is going to be where the Cubs win or lose this year. Where I feel like game-wise, we're still going to be an above 80-win team. We're between 82 at the low, 90 at the highest. I feel like we're going to be around that number. I'm more interested to see how that off-the-field Marquee Network things, how the renovations that we keep making to Wrigley, the hotel that they want to build, how does that sit with fans more so than the play on the field?
Really? So the expectations for you aren't directly tied to a playoff success or...
I want to make the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah, so your expectations should be...
to make the playoffs.
Make playoffs. Yeah. You don't even care about first...
I don't even know if we're going to... I can't say...
Are you going to be a card team? Or
I feel like if we make the playoffs, we're a wild card team.
Okay.
Because I think the Cardinals win the division.
Pat, what do you think about the expectations and then the, Ricky was going into kind of everything surrounding the game of baseball as far as the Cubs are concerned?
Well, to touch on your earlier point, and this is just me speaking honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me what the White Sox do because I don't follow that team super closely. I kind of just leave the Sox fans you guys have your team, I have my team. And really since the 2000s, it just hasn't really mattered much to me what the White Sox do. Because I used to joke with Sox fans when I was younger that you guys care more about watching the Cubs suck than watching your own team be good, and that's just where I grew up. And those were guys those are the kind of fans that don't show up for these Sox games over the years when you guys have had down years.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. I think it's interesting and it's cool, but it doesn't bother me as a Cubs fan to watch the White Sox do that because I'm worrying about what my own team is doing. But to the other point, I do think we should still be excited. But probably Ricky is right. The Marquee Sports Network thing is just a huge mess right now, just because everyone is talking about how they can't get it, or they don't have Comcast, or they have Comcast but they can't get the network. Which I don't really know what is going on exactly with that. But my big thing with when they announced that network is you can't be the Dodgers, who signed up with Time Warner Cable and basically blacked out half the city who can't watch Dodger games. And I'm we can't do that for the Cubs. That should be the last thing you want to do. And it's more of and it's not just probably a Cubs issue, but it's probably more of a baseball issue that the league needs to figure out how to just branch out their TV networks into other areas. The fact that you won't be able to watch a Cubs game online is infuriating to me personally. Yeah.
No, and especially with the way that modern media is shifting towards watching things online over computers, even YouTube TV, Twitch, all that stuff seems to be where everything's heading. And it's weird to see the fight on their end. So I don't know. As far as on the field expectations, though, Pat, where do you kind of land on what's realistic for the Cubs and, why people should not be sleeping on them?
we should still be able to win the division. That's my expectations for this team, to be honest.
Wow.
If we got a wild card, it wouldn't totally surprise me, but I think this team can still is potentially worthy of winning the division this year. And that's counting what the Brewers and what the Cardinals and what the Reds did all season, not counting the Pirates because the Pirates are the last place team.
Right.
But I do think that this is still a playoff-worthy team. Whatever they do in the playoffs, I don't know. But I still think that there's too much top-end talent on this team and still decent pieces around that not to have those expectations. Whatever the Pacoda rankings say we're doing this year, which I don't have not checked because I don't want to watch I don't want to read what they kind of have to say about the Cubs, but this should still be a playoff-worthy team this year.
Now, does that change if you guys do move on from Chris Bryant? Do you think that'll be helpful or hurting?
I don't see how that helps the Cubs at all, even if they get like a bunch of prospects back, because you're still trading a guy who is an MVP who's had one of the highest WARs for any player in baseball since his career came out in Chicago. And I don't see how trading him gets you closer to that. It's kind of like it would be the same reaction that the media gave the Red Sox when they traded Mookie Betts, where ownership was to their fans was like, "Hey, fuck you." That was my reaction.
I love it,
Chris Bryant.
I absolutely love that. So you're at the top, and you're saying this team should win the division. Rick, you seem a little more cautious on your approach.
Pessimistic. I want to say pessimistic is the word I'm looking for. To me,
is there one thing they have to do this season in order to secure that number one seed?
Just going the thing.
Or is it just
it's the offense?
Be who you were.
It's the offense.
Live up to expectations.
In order for us to win the division, we're gonna have to go on a heater, basically, and the offense is gonna have to click. Because of new manager coming in, the player Chris Bryant going to be leading off. Might be good for our offense now.
Very interesting.
Because we've talked about that where Chris Bryant, the thing that we've missed since the World Series days in my mind is a leadoff bat.
Yeah.
Dexter Fowler was our leadoff guy. And then I'm not mad at him for cashing in, but he went to the dark side.
Yep.
To the Cardinals. At least he didn't the riot. He didn't.
Oh my God.
Terrio, where I'm on the better side of the riot. I was a Terrio fan.
You're a fan.
I had my jersey, and I wore that thing so much. The logo was faded. The words were faded on the back. If I was a shirt burner, I would have burned his shirt after he said that. No, I just threw it out.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this in my life. At least Fowler wasn't like that, so I could still like him.
Yep.
But I don't know what to expect from this team play-wise. Are we going to go on a heater like we did in 2016, or will it be more like the end of 2018? I know the Cardinals are probably the best team in this division right now.
Yeah.
The Brewers, I think, take a step back. The Reds, I'm not really scared of. So I'll go Cardinals, then us and the Brewers, depending on who plays better overall, obviously, and then the Reds. Pirates are
far out. Pat, I'll let you give your final rankings and then any final thoughts you have to wrap up the Cubs 2020 expectations.
I would probably still, if at my most optimistic, it would be Cubs, and I would probably put the Cardinals at second because they still have a really good team.
They're
Even
spooky.
though they lost Marcell Ozuna, I still think they're probably going to be the Cubs' biggest threat to the division. Milwaukee lost a lot of guys but gained a lot of guys, so I'm going to put them at 3 because I don't know how the Reds will do. So I'm going to just keep Brewers, Reds, and then Pirates for this division. And I still think Cubs fans should probably be more optimistic, which is really hard to do when you hear all of talk radio in Chicago talk about how terrible this offseason was and how little moves they made, or these I hate Tom Ricketts campaigns from fans, which I personally hate with the biggest part of my soul, because if you're a fan and you are saying that Tom Ricketts is ruining this team, my message to you is just shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? This guy, this guy did not make these certain spending decisions on this team in the past in the contracts, and he helped you bring a World Series, and you're saying that he ruined his team. So that's going to be my hill to die on, is those fans are not real Cubs fans. Those are bandwagon fans who are mad that the team isn't spending Yankee money.
What do you think
That's
the
my hill to
fans?
die on.
What do you think about the fans though that hate him for the Marquee Sports Network thing? Because I'm going to set this up. I want to ask Pat this because Pat's a Cub fan.
Yeah.
So we know a Cub fan that is friends with us, where he said the unthinkable to me, where him and his dad have watched Cubs games forever. They've been diehard Cub fans. And he's like, with the Marquee Sports Network, with not being able to watch games every single day, he talked about, well, I might just have to be a White Sox fan. What do you think about the people that are mad at Ricketts over the Marquee Sports Network thing? Especially, like, I looked up right now, Comcast customers don't have it and might not have it by opening day.
Honestly, if he's thinking of switching teams just because of the Marquee Sports Network, then yeah, I don't think he's a real fan, to be honest. That might be my narrow view as a fan, but that's how I feel. Like, I'm a pick and stick person. So if you're going to switch teams just because you can't watch games as easily as like on the Marquee Sports Network, then probably not.
We are cut from the same cloth, Pat. We are cut, but I'm also a ride or die guy. Once I pick you and I'm a fan of you, you're my team. You're my team until I am dead in the ground.
I've met too many Bears fans who became Packer fans later in life.
Ew. I mean, baseball, I understand, because a lot of times people fall in love with players or with eras, and it's like that group was really what made me a fan, and they've all moved on.
Or like
so
the
now,
NBA now.
Yeah, the NBA, it's very easy to be a fan of a player because now it's very player-centric, bounce around. But football, I'm sorry, that is some sacrilegious bullshit. If you go from being a Bears fan to being a Packers fan, get the fuck out of this state. I can't. I literally can't. I don't care how far north you are in Illinois. Out. Out.
I had an interaction with someone like that on one of the academics I follow on Twitter. She posted a picture of like Aaron Rodgers. Like, ever since breaking up with the Bears, I get to fall in love with this man every Sunday. And I was just like, what do you mean you broke up with the Bears? That's not happening. Like, why would you do that? I literally asked her, like, why did you break up with the Bears? And she, like, what did they do that was so terrible? And her words were Rex Grossman.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Sexy Rexy?
Mm-hmm.
God.
That is, although one of my buddies in my program did switch from being a Cowboys fan to a Steelers fan for some reason. I'm not sure why to this day. But he said, like, yeah, I was kind of done with the Cowboys and done with Jerry Jones, and I put all 32 teams, like, names into a hat. And the first one I pulled out, became a fan of.
That's a bold move. Loyalty is a fickle bitch, though.
That's why I haven't bought in on a XFL team yet.
Yeah.
Like, because
I'm waiting for it to last the whole season first.
It is.
And not, like, blow out like the other league did.
The AFL?
Yeah.
But here's my biggest conundrum with the XFL is I feel like I'm going to become a fan of a team, and then they're going to add a Chicago team next year. And then I'm going to be like, oh, but I fell in love with this team. So that's why I'm trying not to fall in love with any team.
Yeah.
Except I fucking love Matt McGloin in the XFL. Give me that transparency, baby.
I have not watched any of the XFL yet.
It's worth a highlight reel watch.
I'll give you this
right
update, Pat. Last week, they interviewed Matt McGloin at halftime of his game, and they asked him, well, what do you got to do? They were down like 17-0. And he goes, we got to change the whole fucking thing. We got to change the game plan, everything. Just change everything. And everyone was bashing him because he was too transparent in that moment.
It's fantastic. I want angry coaches.
It
I want
stuns me that
mics.
Trustman is a head coach in that league.
Of Tampa Bay, the Vipers, and they're bad.
They
lost
perfect.
today, 34-27.
We got Mark Trustman coaching that team.
Slight problem for them going forward, but he earned his credit. You know, he got that Grey Cup a couple times. He's a coach forever. But anyway, Pat, I want to thank you so much for being on today. Been a pleasure. Had some wonderful Cubs talk and then a little bit of loyalty talk. Just gets me frustrated. Gets the blood boiling a little bit when people betray their teams.
It does. It gets me. If you're gonna pick, you have to stick with them.
Hell yeah.
I'm with you. I got some feelings about Jake and his selection and the timing of said selection. Go from being a Sixers fan, a Saints fan, and a Yankees fan. All right. And don't
it's like
trust
he
him.
picked the bandwagon of the 2010s.
Seriously, he did. But I'm not going to judge him too
sorry,
hard.
But not sorry.
Love the shout out. All right, Pat. Thanks so much. We will catch you around. There's always Discord. If you are a patron of MVP, you can check us out on Discord, 24/7 access to us and our group. We do watch-alongs and all that fun shit.
We're going to have a watch-along tonight.
Tonight, we're going to watch some people play some basketball and talk literally not about basketball, probably.
Probably.
That's what usually happens, yeah.